Peter is looking after the East Gippsland Fire Relief group. And we all know what happened in East Gippsland over Christmas, not just East Gippsland, but the greater part of that corner of Australia, the devastation and everything that's gone on there. The work that we are doing today is not going to stop just because we've had a little bit of rain. We're going to need a lot more rain. It's going to take a lot longer for the pastures and everything to recover and start being able to produce again. It's going to take a long time for buildings and that to be built. But we've also got all of the social problems and issues that are going to come up in the coming years. So I'm not going to steal any of Peter's thunder. Peter, over to you.
Okay, am I coming through? Well, look, thanks very much. And I'd say up front, this is a presentation that I'm presenting on behalf of the 5 Rotary clubs in the wonderful cluster of East Gippsland: Bairnsdale Sunrise, Bairnsdale, Mitchell River, Orbost and Lakes Entrance. I guess the bushfires of last summer seem in some ways quite a long time ago, but perhaps let me refresh everyone's memory. Bear in mind that the fires came at the end of a 3-year drought. That's what the fires looked like in January. Enormous flames, enormous amount of work by the wonderful efforts of the CFA, the SES, etc. That photo there taken, if you can see at the end of the road on the left-hand side, there's a signpost that's about 100 metres away from two of our clients. The fires were very widespread across East Gippsland. A little bit of that I'll talk about later, but to bear in mind, it destroyed a huge amount of area. I won't go through all the details in a 10-minute presentation, but let me just give you the highlights. 5 Victorians lost their lives. The government's records say that 300 houses were lost. I put it a different way. I say 300 families lost their homes. 400 properties in addition were severely damaged, along with countless kilometres of fencing destroyed. After the heat of the fires, livestock were regularly seen wandering around dirt roads in search of food because there were no fences to hold them in. 1.2 million hectares of bushland was totally burned. And let's try and put that in perspective. 600,000 MCGs, that's the area burned. The whole of Northern Ireland is about the same size. So on the 1st of January, the 5 Rotary clubs got together here in East Gippsland and agreed that we'd have to unite in order to provide some meaningful effort to help the victims of the fires. And so we created the East Gippsland Fire Aid Group. And we said at the get-go that our work would take 2 to 3 years. And we're 8 or 9 months into that, but a 2 to 3 year job we've got. We've had some fantastic financial support and support from all sorts of people, and some of that I'll talk about in a moment. Rotary clubs, of course, are the big contributors to us. Individual donors, companies, etc. In total to date, including grants from District and Rotary International, RORCs, we've received around about $1.3 million. And we've estimated that in addition, we've got about $1 million worth of in-kind gifts, caravans, shipping containers, As I said, we're at the end of a 3-year drought. Huge amount of livestock fodder was provided. There are just so many things that we've been granted. So in total, about $2.3 million. We're 9 or 10 months into a program that's going to take us 2 to 3 years. And as the wording down there says, every little bit of it will be used to directly help those who have been affected by the fires. I won't go through all the details of some of these slides at the moment, but just pointing out a couple. You see that truck down on the bottom of the screen carrying the sort of fodder. Dozens and dozens of truckloads have been essential. On the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we created a series of vouchers which could be handed out to victims when needed. And we did an arrangement with the local retailers so that if we handed a voucher to somebody, they could use it at a retail outlet as if it was cash. Later, we would reimburse 100%, reimburse the retailer. So it gave a double whammy in terms of benefit. The client got some cash that they needed, and the retailer had some turnover. Shipping containers, we've delivered about 140 shipping containers to date. And on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, you can see some of our Rotarians from Bairnsdale and Lakes Entrance helping with revegetation, planting various trees, etc. So where do we get our money? Okay, from Rotary. Whoops, or I go back from Rotary clubs. They've been a huge contributor to us. Victoria, even some in Australia, and even some internationally. The international donations we love, particularly from America. By the time you take into account the exchange rate, they're worth quite a bit. You see on that top line, I've got a series of numbers, and that's a code for me to remember. This is how wonderful Rotary clubs have been to us. This is how much we appreciate them. In the first 6 weeks that we opened our committee, 45 Rotary clubs, mainly in Victoria, but 45 Rotary clubs donated money to us. $131,000 was given to us just in the first 6 weeks. Wonderful contribution from Rotary. In addition to that, various other organisations, Rotary District, Rotary International, have given us some grants, and I won't go through all the details seen on the screen. In addition to that, support we're getting from individuals, from clubs who are offering their support to come and help with the recovery effort. We're working closely with the government caseworkers. They took a while to be put on the ground, but they're here now and providing a good service. Lots of offers of clubs to come and help in the recovery effort, subject, of course, to the lockdown. Now, having said that, there's still so much work to be done. So let me give you good and bad, a bit of a situation report on where we are now and where I see it's going in the future. In terms of where we are now, there's no question the donations that we've received have slowed down very significantly. There's no question we all understand and appreciate that the funding from 3 tiers of government is concentrated on COVID-19 issues. In terms of our recovery effort at the moment, the work that we're doing in our Rotary cluster here has had severe restrictions and difficulties in our ability to travel around our area by ourselves. We can't travel around in groups, etc. And of course, for Rotary clubs in the metropolitan area, there's severe restrictions on them being able to even travel over to East Gippsland in our support. In terms of the future, again, there's good and bad things happening. I question, will our donations towards the recovery efforts return to previous levels? I would suspect not to previous levels, but I would like to think that once restrictions are lifted, that perhaps we may get in some sort of way help. I see there's a big plus for us in that Victorians are likely to travel within Australia rather than overseas. And I would think that there's likely to be an influx of visitors to East Gippsland, boosting local business. Bear in mind that an organisation, so the retailers in Lakes Entrance, they make their living 2 to 3 months a year with tourists. That 2 to 3 months a year was being taken up by fires and COVID restrictions. So there has been no business. There are 36 empty shops in Lakes Entrance at the moment. Many clubs, the big plus is that many clubs do want to come and travel to East Gippsland to help in our recovery effort, and we're going to be very grateful for doing so. But let me just please explain. There's going to be an enormous amount of work to coordinate all the very kind offer from various Rotary clubs to come and assist us. We really would like to have a situation where when Rotary clubs come out, we get a chance to meet with them, to thank with them personally, and to work with them. We can't do that if we get 15 Rotary clubs all in the 1 week. We've got to recover, we've got to work on our recovery effort in areas and timings to match what is needed. So for instance, some of the locations, Mallacoota from Lakes Entrance, Mallacoota is a 5-hour round trip. So we couldn't, we would expect that perhaps someone offering to help with Mallacoota may be overnighting there for a couple of days. Club Terrace is a place that needs a lot of help, but Club Terrace does not have any accommodation available. And all 3 tiers of government have many years of economic restrictions in order to recover from the recovery effort. So I just end up by throwing very quickly 4 lessons of many that I think can be learned out of the fire. The first one is a very positive one. I'm just delighted that the 5 Rotary clubs in East Gippsland have worked together, and the relationship has been great between the 5 clubs. It is really wonderful to see what can happen when 5 Rotary clubs in a cluster work together. To stand in front of the mayor of the local shire, to stand in front of the local member, saying that you're representing a whole bunch of communities and a whole bunch of clubs, gives you a great deal of strength when lobbying for various things. The second point, 10 years. I think it's going to take the government to get their money back following this COVID thing. In that time, I don't think that Rotary can expect much from the public purse, to be honest. And I think all Rotary clubs will need to be very creative in their fundraising efforts. The third one's a controversial one, I know. It has been extremely surprising for me to see the number of places where homes have been destroyed and people have been either underinsured or not insured at all. Situations arise where a home in a rural area has been insured, and the money for the insurance covers the reconstruction of the house, but it doesn't cover the reconstruction of the fencing or the barns and things like that. There's a lot to be said for a reigniting of the debate that talked about some years ago, that talked about a compulsory home insurance, in the same way that you have a compulsory third-party insurance when you pay registration for a car. I know it would be hotly debated, and I know there'd be a lot of people against it, but I can tell you that probably more than 50% of the victims that we're working with have either been uninsured or underinsured. It's a huge impact. And finally, will Victoria really learn the lessons from the disaster? We work closely with organisations like the wonderful organisations like the Lions Club. We work closely with state and federal and local governments in the recovery effort. However, there is a bit of a duplication. let me give you an example to take a place like Buchan. In Buchan, there is a bushfire recovery state government hub coordinator. There is also a bushfire recovery shire hub coordinator. To me, that seems crazy. I know that they're both working hard, but if I was a victim of the fire, I think I would like to be able to go to one location and get advice about what to do instead of trying to work out who to go to. I think there could be a lot more coordination undertaken than there is now. I guess the final thing I'd say is two things. One is that I am, quite clearly from what I'm saying, I'm very proud of the work being undertaken by the cluster here at East Gippsland. And secondly, I'm very proud and very grateful for the support provided by Rotary clubs throughout Victoria in particular. Some of those clubs are represented on the screen here today, and we do really appreciate your efforts. And that's about it.
Fantastic, and thank you, Peter. You know, it is absolutely amazing the work that you and the whole team down there is actually doing. It is also great to know that our district applied for, or we didn't, but in conjunction with other districts around, some global grants. We've had 3 approved, and 2 of them have already hit our bank accounts. So, you know, the East Gippsland fires have made worldwide headlines. And as you said in there, we're not going to solve this year. This is going to be an ongoing project for many, many years to come. And one of the things that I urge each and every one of the clubs here, don't forget our Rotary Foundation, because in 2 and 3 years' time, you are going to be wanting to do projects within that community. If we don't get money into our foundation, we're not going to get money back for district grants. If we don't get money back for district grants, we're not going to be able to help you help your communities. So I just urge every one of you that's here today, go back to your clubs and say, have we made our donation to foundation? If you have, ask them to make another donation to foundation, because the money will come back to you in 2 and 3 years' time.